Guys, what is going on? Welcome back, Justin here. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Today we're going to be talking about episode 3 of Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass. You already know that. You saw the thumbnail. You clicked on the video. Before we get into that, guys, please do me a favor. I'm going to give you a couple extra seconds to go ahead, go down below, and like this video. Really do appreciate it, guys, more than you know. So let's go ahead and get into episode 3 of Midnight Mass. Book 3 of Midnight Mass. So guys, we have so much to go over with episode 3. So much happened in this episode. And in fact, this is a real turning point, I feel like, for the show. The first 2 episodes were amazing, but there were a lot of questions being asked. And in this episode, not only do we get some of those answers, but we have some incredible character moments, some great performances, amazing cinematography. Yet again, another opening sequence that was just awesome. The first episode, of course, opened up with the car accident with Riley. The second episode opened up with that amazing one-take continuous shot, almost an 8-minute long continuous shot on the beach with the cats. And in this episode, we get an opening with Father Paul, and we finally start to get some answers. This episode picks up right after the events of episode 2, where Father Paul performed the impossible. He performed a miracle, and Lisa, the girl that was once in a wheelchair after being shot, stood up and walked across the damn church. It was wild. What a crazy end to that episode. The episode begins with Father Paul in confession. He goes into the confession booth and starts telling the story of what really happened to Monsignor Pruitt. And that's an amazing story that's sort of sprinkled throughout the episode. So I'm going to save that big reveal, and we'll just talk about that at the end, because that's obviously the biggest thing that happened in the episode. Father Paul has a lot of standout dialogue in this episode, but one line in particular at the beginning of this episode stood out to me, and that's when he says Monsignor Pruitt had simply overstayed his allotted time on this earth, talking about his dementia, basically causing him to lose his mind and wander off into the desert in that amazing sequence, which we will get into later. But what a scary thought to think that even though our body can last a certain amount of time, that our diminished capacity of our brains won't even allow us to enjoy those last few years that we have on earth. It's just a really scary thought, and a really poignant line among a lot of poignant lines in this episode to deal with aging and just getting older, and how scary it is to lose one's sanity and lose control of, you know, your own thoughts. It's just a really scary thing. After his miracle, the town is completely buzzing with how unreal and insane this scenario is, that Father Paul has actually performed a miracle. They take her to the doctor, and the doctor simply can't believe it. And of course, the doctor is looking through this miracle through a scientific lens and thinking there has to be some rational explanation for this. It can't be an actual miracle. And because this town is so religious, that's sort of looked down upon to challenge the miracles of God. A point to which even her parents say to the doctor that the doctor is second guessing a gift from God. Show takes an interesting look at religion. Some could honestly say that it's not shining a great light on religion, but it's simply presenting scenarios, and people actually think this way.
They don't need the men in the white coats. They don't necessarily need medication. They need somebody with authority and power and anointing that says, be gone in the name of Jesus.
So I found a lot of these little lines and a lot of these character perspectives to really be super interesting, quite honestly. And after the scene in the doctor's office, we saw Lisa walking around the city and all the kids gathering around her in awe of her miracle. You know, it's pretty wild. But after this miracle is performed, something very strange happened. Father Paul stumbles back to his house and seems to be incredibly weakened after performing this miracle. Another interesting thing to note is during this sequence, they show Bev Keane looking at something on the wall in Father Paul's house. We don't exactly know what that is. They leave that as a little bit of a guess. Now, at this point in the episode, at this point in the series, we're sort of thinking Father Paul, his intentions seem to be pure. He seems to be a good guy with good intentions. You know, there's this ominous feel in the show with the unknown circumstances of Monsignor Pruitt, this new guy arriving. There was a little bit of a question up in the air as to his intentions with the town and the townspeople. people. But at this point in the episode, it seems like Father Paul is on the up and up, but something is clearly wrong with him at this point. And this is where I really wanted to mention Hamish Linklater, who plays Father Paul. I had never seen him in anything before, and what an incredible performance from him. The way Father Paul speaks in riddles with this, his throat is always just so relaxed to the point where the air is just basically coming out of his mouth. And the way he speaks in riddles, it's just so good. He just eats every moment that he's on screen, and I love his performance. And also just talking about his character and characters like him and people like him. People are very susceptible to charismatic actors, not just actors like actors, but charismatic people, the people who lead religions, people who lead churches, people who lead mega churches and televangelists and cult leaders. I'm not comparing all religion to cults, although I would compare a lot of them to cults, but people are so easily susceptible to charismatic people when they're desperate for answers, or they're just simply desperate for something in their life. They don't have anything to really look forward to or look up to, or their life is empty. They don't have their own goals. They're stuck on this little island. It's really easy to get sucked into something that makes you feel worthwhile. It feels like you're appreciated or you're a part of something. And in this town, religion is that. People are just drawn to their religious leader, looking for answers, like God is going to solve all of their problems. One person who doesn't believe that, a person who's lost their faith, is of course Riley. Riley has lost his faith, and there's a lot of that discussion in the AA meeting. Those sort of conversations are touched on both with Riley and Sheriff Hassan when he's talking to his son about his wife, you know, how pure and innocent she was, and she passes away and she gets cancer and dies, and it's just simply not fair. And in this episode, sort of after all these events and the miracles happening, there's this montage of everybody just being as happy as can be. There's a miracle in town, so they show little clips of each person in town just living their best lives, being their best self. Everybody seemingly has this sense of rejuvenation. Like in the last episode, the new beginnings, that big sermon he gives about new beginnings and rebirth. The town is sort of feeling this rebirth as Father Paul sort of guides the town in this new direction. And one of the biggest set pieces in this entire episode is the sermon that's delivered. I like how they hang the themes of the episode sort of with these sermons that he delivers, and as he captivates his audience, as he captivates the town and us, quite frankly. I was captivated during his speech about how there's nothing abstract in the Bible. The things written in the good book are not to be taken lightly. The mysteries and miracles that seem to become harder and harder to recognize as we get older. And we're just simply unable to have the wonder and the faith in things that we don't understand as we did when we had that childlike wonderment when we were younger. There has to be simply a reasonable explanation for everything. Everything has to be spelled out. It has to be black and white. When we were younger, when we were kids, everything was unknown. From minute to minute, hour to hour, from day to day, everything was exciting because everything was fresh and new and undiscovered. And it actually is unfortunate that as adults, we're just unable to capture that wonderment and the excitement of every day being new. As we get older, the unknown, that mystery just sort of turns into anxiety and it becomes overwhelming, at least for me sometimes. And I loved his speech. I thought that sermon was just incredible. As Father Paul said, and I wrote it down here, to live with staggering honesty, to be guiltless, light as air. I thought that was just amazing. That sermon absolutely blew me away. Of course, everybody in the congregation is weeping at this point. And one more thing I wanted to touch on before we get to obviously the huge reveal at the end, is this amazingly heartbreaking, devastating scene between Joe Collie and Lisa, the girl that was in the wheelchair. Oh my God. You guys gotta let me know in the comments if you were just as floored by that scene as I was. I was gutted by that scene. The performances in that scene were so like raw and full of emotion and just absolutely incredible. I was just so blown away. I was moved. It was just, the words were so perfectly written. That young actress who played Lisa, I believed every word she was saying. And the heartbreak on Joe, as he was it's almost like the words, every word that she said just punched him somewhere. He was just like being hit with these words. He like physically affected by every word that she says to him about hating him and spending so much time, you know, thinking, you know, negative thoughts about him. At the end of her speech, after she gets out everything that she wanted to say, at the end, she just wanted to let it go. She didn't want it to be a burden anymore, and she forgives him. And he just loses it. Joe just loses it. And I was just, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man, I had tears coming down my face in that scene. It was just, oh my God. Staggeringly beautiful that scene was. As sad as it was, it's been a long time since I've been hit emotionally like that hard in a scene. And I was just, wow. That's all I gotta say about that scene. It is just wow. And now we have the elephant in the room, or the angel in the room. Angel, I say that loosely, and I have my theories about this, but holy shit, we find out that Monsignor Pruitt, on his holy mission to the Holy Land, and in the throes of dementia or Alzheimer, whatever he has, he walks away from his tour group, his group that he's with, his group of missionaries, stumbles into the desert, and what is such an incredibly shot scene of him walking through the sand as these brutal winds and sand is just whipping his face, and he's just stumbling to find somewhere to go. And of course he stumbles upon this ancient unearthed cave, and all of the words to describe how the sand and the wind like unearthed this ancient cave like a mouth from the desert or something. All of the dialogue was just incredible in that. But he sees a goddamn angel. Angel, I say that loosely, we'll get into that in a minute. And then some sort of ritual is performed on him. He bows to the angel. He doesn't know if he's hallucinating or what, but Monsignor Pruitt bows to this angel. The angel bites him in the neck and then performs some sort of interview with the vampire shit, cuts his wrist, lets him feed from him, and he wakes up as a younger version of himself. Seemingly 50 years of age, 50 years of life is gone, and he is now a young man. And it's Father Paul, which is shocking. And we've also find out that's what Bev Keane was looking at. When she looks at the wall, she sees when that church is first built, it is Father Paul, or Monsignor Pruitt as his younger self. So I have a lot of questions about this. Now, I didn't want to search anything. This is my interpretation of this. I swear every time I try to Google for an image or just to double check something, I get some sort of a spoiler. And I can't look up anything. So you guys can tell me your interpretations of what you think. But I still have questions about this, okay? First of all, I don't think that, and this isn't a spoiler, I have not seen episode 4, okay? This is just my thoughts. This is my theory. I don't think that was an angel, Bubba. I think that was a demon. I think he was tricked by a demon. That's what he has in his trunk. As he says, the demon or the angel sort of was with him this whole time, and he has brought this fucking demon to the island. I don't think it's an angel. Okay? And I think there's also something else, because I don't think the fact that he's calling himself Father Paul, he's not calling himself Pruitt. Maybe he just called himself Father Paul because nobody would ever believe that he is a younger version of Monsignor Pruitt. But also, that doesn't explain what happened in episode 1. Maybe it was episode 1 or 2, but when he wore the wrong robe. If it was, in fact, a younger version of Monsignor Pruitt, he would not have put on the wrong robe that day. He fucked up. Also, the fact that he is becoming weak and vomiting blood and going into seizures, I think that's some sort of evil trying to get out, or the body fighting this demon within him. I don't think this is Monsignor Pruitt. I think this is, or he has been sort of being controlled by something evil and bigger. Keep in mind, these are all theories. I think that the person they've been seeing on the beach, because they've said that they've saw what they thought was Monsignor Pruitt. Now, if you remember, for that angel to be going through the desert and following with him, I think he was disguised in Monsignor Pruitt's robe and hat, or his signature coat and hat. So I think what they are seeing, what they saw on the Uppards Island eating the cats, what they saw on the beach scurrying away, that is that angel. Those wings are underneath that trench coat. The hat is covering up the head. So I think that's what people have been seeing, this angel, or I think it's a demon lurking at people's windows with the glowing eyes, because those are the glowing eyes that we've seen. And that's what was in his trunk. He brought this demon back in the trunk. He gets out at night. He feeds on cats. That's why all these cats are dead. So that's what I think's happening. If you guys think I'm right, wrong, let me know down in the comments. But I think that's everything that I had to cover. Also, one more small thing to note that happened towards the end of the episode is the doctor, who takes care of her mother in her house, has seemingly become suddenly lucid. All of a sudden, she has no dementia. She remembers who her daughter was. She's asking questions. It's like she's snapped out of her trance and she's become lucid. That's the character that I also had mentioned in my last recap that's wearing the old person makeup. So either they're going to do a flashback or maybe she is going to like reverse age or something. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that is this actress right here. I can't remember her name right now. She was in Dr. Sleep. I'm pretty sure that's her. I guess we'll find out. I'm going to watch episode 4 tonight. I'm also going to watch the second episode of Creepshow, which premiered today. So I'm also covering the Creepshow series episode by episode. I was going to review the new Nick Cage movie, but I watched I don't know, the first 50 minutes of it, and it's almost unwatchable. It's almost unwatchable. So Prisoners of a Ghostland. So a quickie review. That movie is almost unwatchable. So I'm not going to cover that movie, but I want to try to get a movie review out this weekend too. But doing all of these episodes, I hope you guys are enjoying it because it's eating up a lot of real estate on the channel. So I hope I'm not losing people, but people seem to be enjoying this show. So that's that. This was a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but this was a big episode. There was a lot to talk about. But I think that's it, guys. Remember to stay weird, always be yourself, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.